Every single day, somewhere in the world, engineers build something that makes you think, wait, that's impossible. But this one is next level. Imagine a city where it's 95 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So hot and humid you're sweating just walking to your car. Now imagine walking into a building and suddenly you're skiing down a mountain. Real snow. It's really cold. A full ski slope as tall as a 25-story building. In the middle of a tropical city. China just spent $4 billion building the world's largest indoor ski resort. And it has to fight physics 24/7 just to keep the whole thing from melting into a giant puddle. This is that story. Let me start by telling you about Shenzhen. If you own a smartphone, a laptop, or pretty much any electronic device, there's a good chance it was made in Shenzhen. The city is basically the factory of the world. But here's what makes this story crazy. Shenzhen is hot. We're not talking about regular summer heat. We're talking tropical, sticky, humid heat. Average summer temperature is 31 to 35 degrees Celsius. That's 88 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And the humidity often hits 84%. It's like living inside a sauna. So when someone said, let's build a massive ski resort here, everyone probably thought they were joking. But they weren't joking. They were dead serious. Why would anyone do this? Okay, so why would China spend $4 billion building a ski resort in one of the worst possible places for it? The answer is actually pretty interesting. For decades, Shenzhen was all about manufacturing, making things, exporting them, growing fast. But by 2019, the government realized something. Being a factory city isn't enough anymore. They wanted Shenzhen to become a global center for culture, lifestyle, and luxury services. Not just a place that makes stuff, but a place people actually want to visit and live in. And here's another thing. Skiing is exploding in China. After China hosted the 2022 Winter Olympics, winter sports became huge. Over 346 million Chinese people have tried winter sports since 2015. That's more than the entire population of the United States. But there's a problem. Most of China's wealth and population is in the south. Most of the snow is in the north. For the 150 million people living in the Guangdong province, seeing real snow usually meant a 4 to 5 hour flight to the north or an expensive trip to Japan. So the solution? Bring the mountain to them. Build a ski resort right in the middle of the city. No flights needed. Just take the subway. How big is this thing? Let me give you some numbers that'll blow your mind. The resort is 100,000 square meters. That's about 25 football fields under one roof. But the really scary number is the vertical drop. That's the distance from the top of the slope to the bottom. Here, 83 meters. To put that in perspective, that's like standing on the roof of a 25-story building, putting on skis, and sliding straight down. The main ski run is 441 meters long. That's almost half a kilometer. Long enough that even professional skiers will feel it in their legs. And it's not just one slope. There are 5 different tracks. Gentle slopes for complete beginners, medium slopes for people learning, steep professional tracks for competitions. Oh, and here's where it gets even crazier. Inside the same building, they also built a luxury hotel, a deep diving pool, a warm wave pool. Think about that for a second. On one side of the wall, people are wearing thick winter jackets, shivering in -6 degrees Celsius. Just a few meters away, families are swimming in warm water in bathing suits. In the same building, the impossible engineering challenge. So the obvious question is, how doesn't this giant block of ice melt? Because remember, outside it's 95 degrees and humid. Inside, you need it to stay below freezing forever. Engineers basically had to turn the entire building into a giant high-tech cooler. Here's how they did it. Step 1. The shell. You can't use normal walls. These walls are incredibly thick and packed with layers of insulation. Think of it like a massive thermos, keeping the cold in, keeping the heat out. Step 2. The airlock system. Remember that warm pool next to the ski slope? You can't just have a door between them. If you did, hot air would rush into the cold zone. The snow would turn to slush. Disaster. So they use airlock transition zones, kind of like what spaceships use. You pass through a buffer area that traps the heat before it can reach the snow. You never go straight from warm to cold. Step 3. The snow. The snow isn't natural, obviously. It's made by industrial snowmaking machines that run constantly. The temperature stays at -6 degrees Celsius, so the snow doesn't melt. Step 4. The monster cooling system. Deep inside the building is a massive refrigeration plant. Industrial compressors push refrigerant through kilometers of pipes buried under the floor. keeping everything frozen solid. It's basically a giant freezer, but one that cost $4 billion. The building that looks like a whale, the owners didn't want some boring square building, so they hired architects and said, make it look cool. What they came up with is wild. From the outside, the building looks like a giant blue whale jumping out of the water. It's wrapped in special ceramic panels and aluminum that shimmer in the light. When the sun hits it, it looks more like a glacier than a building. It fits the vibe of Shenzhen perfectly. Fast, modern, a bit crazy. Construction started in 2022. By mid-2025, the main structure was standing. Then they spent almost the entire summer installing the massive snowmaking and cooling machinery inside. But here's where things get complicated. The construction nightmare. Building this thing was a logistical nightmare. First problem, the walls. Remember, they needed to be super thick and insulated. That's not easy. Second problem, they were building a luxury hotel right next door at the same time, and the resort had to connect to the subway with a walking bridge. Oh, and the subway station? Still under construction while they were building the resort. Somehow, they pulled it off. On September 29th, 2025, the resort officially opened. It immediately became the world's largest indoor ski resort, taking the crown from Ski Dubai. The three big problems. But opening day wasn't the end. This place faces three constant challenges. Problem 1, energy. Running a giant freezer 24/7 in the middle of the tropics uses massive amounts of electricity, and that electricity has to come from somewhere. Burning that much power is terrible for the environment. Their solution? Cover the roof with solar panels. Generate some of the power on site, but even with solar, it still needs a ton of grid electricity to keep running. Problem 2, temperature control. Remember that warm pool right next to the snow? If the insulation fails, even a tiny bit, you get what's called thermal bridging. Heat leaks into the snow zone. Cold leaks into the pool zone. Your fresh snow turns into brown slush. Your swimmers start freezing. So they had to engineer airtight barriers that seal the two worlds completely apart. If those barriers fail, the whole thing doesn't work. Problem 3, money. The total cost was over $4 billion. To make that money back, they need over 1 million people to buy tickets every year. That's a huge bet. They're betting that Chinese families would rather pay to ski indoors right now than wait and travel to real mountains in Japan, Korea, or Europe. Will it work? Time will tell. What this means. As of January 2026, this place is open and running. For the 13.5 million people living in Shenzhen, this is a game changer. Before, skiing meant booking flights, planning trips, spending thousands. Now it's just a subway ride away. It also creates something that never existed before, a year-round training ground for winter sports in southern China. Kids who've never seen snow in their lives can learn to ski. Athletes can train without traveling north. Economically, it completely transforms the area. What used to be an industrial waterfront is now a luxury destination. It creates hundreds of permanent jobs: ski instructors, maintenance workers, hotel staff, refrigeration engineers. Globally, it sets a new standard. It proves that with enough engineering and money, climate is optional. We're already seeing similar projects planned in other tropical Asian cities. It changes what we think is possible. The contradiction. But there's something weird about this whole project. The building has rainwater collection systems. It has wetland areas to be green and environmentally friendly, yet it burns massive amounts of energy just to stay frozen. But the question is it worth it? Because they spent $4 billion to prove that winter can happen anywhere, as long as you can pay the electric bill. Final thoughts. So here we are in 2026. China just built the world's largest indoor ski resort. It's insane. It's expensive. And somehow it works. Is it the future or just a really expensive novelty? I don't know, but it's definitely impressive. What do you think? Would you pay to ski indoors in a tropical city? Or nothing beats the real mountain experience? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this as wild as I did, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the crazy engineering projects happening around the world.